Tension hung heavy in the air. The Gork's War Council met in the magnificent, towering spires of Cortic Prime. The chamber gleamed with obsidian shine. Beneath the man-made planetary defense grid a radiant display of the Empire's uncompromising dominance. But in that space, a shadow of unease crept in. It was disturbed by one presence, an extraterrestrial veteran. General Tassar stood, his delicate blue scales dulled by time, marked with the scars of ancient conflicts. His once bright crest now drooped, a testimony to the years and their burden. He was revered, but mostly dismissed, a relic among the ambitious young commanders, who saw him more as a cautionary tale than a wellspring of wisdom. "Express your peace," came the sharp tone of General Commander V.N. Bart Van. His crimson armor shimmered, his eyes aflame with the arrogance of youth daring to challenge the elder. "We have your authority today," Van declared. Scanning the room, his gaze paused on a young lieutenant, Arden, whose quiet demeanor stood in contrast to the pride and vanity in the chamber. He shifted uneasily under the scrutiny. Tassar said nothing at first. He took a breath. "You think humans are weak," he began. "You believe they are chaotic, disorganized, incapable of unity or discipline." Snickers echoed in the room. "That belief," Tassar continued, "will be your undoing." Van leaned back, folding his arms with a sneer. "Your obsession with this dying race grows tiresome. They're a nuisance. Nothing more. You think it's annoying to be swatted aside?" Tassar's voice was calm. "That's because you haven't faced them." Kark, another commander, chimed in. "Their technology is primitive. Their fleets disorderly. They lack structure. You fail to see their resolve?" "Their creativity," Tassar replied, eyes glinting with memory. "3 cycles ago you ignored my warnings." The room fell still. Arden's smirk faded. "I? Was it Darien V?" Tassar said, his voice low, ghostly. "We believed our fleet was invincible. We landed on their colony, expecting an easy victory." He paused. "What we found, I shall never forget." He tapped the table. The sound echoed like distant gunfire. "They fought desperately, but cleverly they turned our mistakes against us. Converted their own failed machinery into bombs. Built traps from dirt and metal. It wasn't just strategy, it was survival," Van snorted. "You claim they're monsters," he said. "But you lived." "I lived," Tassar said coldly, "because they let me." A hush swept the chamber. "They dismantled our fleet piece by piece. Not out of cruelty, but precision. They spared the non-combatants, and when they won, they left one ship intact, mine, with a message, 'Do not return.'" Now, even Van looked uneasy. Still, he waved it off. "We are not the fleet you once commanded, General. We are the Gork's Empire, the strongest in the galaxy." Tassar's eyes burned. "They don't fight for conquest or resources, but for survival. And those who fight to survive don't care about fair combat." Arden leaned forward. "Then perhaps diplomacy is the answer?" Tassar's eyes softened. "Why should they believe us? We've given them no reason." "All they've seen is our cruelty." Van slammed his fist down. "The invasion has been approved. The humans are an obstacle to our expansion. Obstacles must be removed." Tassar's shoulders sagged. "You're making a grave mistake. One that will cost us everything," Van scoffed. "We'll see, old man. You've grown soft." As the murmurs of dissent filled the room, Arden lingered behind. Tassar turned to him. "You think we can't lose, Lieutenant?" he said quietly. "Victory is not the question. Survival is." Arden nodded slowly, unsure, and left the room. Tassar closed his eyes. Darien V burned again in his memory. The screams, the fire, the heat, "I warned them," he whispered. "May the gods show them mercy." Scene shift, New Horizon colony. The human colony of New Horizon had always stood as a beacon of progress, its domed cities gleaming beneath the twin suns. Now, smoke choked the skies. The ground trembled with destruction. The Gork's attack was brutal, swift. Towers collapsed into rubble. Shuttles exploded midair. Screams of fleeing civilians were drowned by the roar of invading war machines. On board the Gork's command ship, Weapons Commander Varn grinned. "This'll teach them," he muttered. Behind him, Lieutenant Arden stood, pale and silent. He stared at the burning world below, Tasser's warning echoing in his mind. A single communications officer stumbled through. Debris on the surface, burnt, bloodied, trembling. He activated a battered transmitter. His message was short but dire. The fall of New Horizon is not defeat. It is a warning. Scene shift. Aboard the human vessel, Yuan Marcus Johnson, the battle-hardened captain, stood still as the transmission played. His steel-gray eyes, hard from countless wars, narrowed. New Horizon, he said quietly, was the edge of a blade. How long was the transmission? Asked IGN Carter, hands shaking. Just a few minutes, Johnson replied. He turned to Tactical Commander Owen Price. How soon until reinforcements? 6 days, Price answered grimly. The bridge fell into silence. Johnson's voice sliced through it like a knife. Then we show them what it means to provoke humanity. Orders flew. Systems came alive. Amidst the chaos, his calm presence was unshaken. At the science console, Dr. Heath Mercer's voice broke the moment. There's no logic to the Gork strikes, no tactical objective. It's slaughter. They're testing us, Johnson said. Seeing how far we can be pushed. They'll find out, Mercer muttered. Tightening his jaw, seeing the counterstrike begins. Precision strikes hit the Gork supply lines. Small, nimble human ships darted past defenses, striking hard and vanishing into space. Outposts fell. Supply depots burned. The Gorks, used to crushing resistance, found themselves outmaneuvered, each move a masterstroke. Each hit a message. Mercer's analysis exposed critical weaknesses in Gork's technology. Fear spread among the enemy. The stories of surgical human retaliation spread like wildfire. Commander Varn demanded a counterattack. His superiors hesitated. Johnson and Mercer studied the next enemy fleet formation. They're regrouping. Mercer noted, we'll be ready. Johnson said, Scene, final warning. Back in the Gork's chambers, Arden spoke. Perhaps it's time we listen. Perhaps General Tasser was right. We cannot win this war. You sound like a fool, Van snarled. We do not retreat. Arden's voice rose. Then what? Wait until they rip us apart? Silence. Scene, space before the final battle. Johnson stood in the darkness of his command deck, eyes locked on the tactical map. Every decision was wait. Every move, survival. They won't stop, Mercer said. They won't accept defeat. Johnson's voice was ice. Let them come, the crew braced. They knew the odds. And still, they stood. The Gork's fleet emerged gleaming. Obsidian, a show of overwhelming power. Johnson gave the final command. This is where we take our stand. He stared into the void. Now, they learn what it means to fight humans. This is the main defensive fleet of humanity. This is where it ends, he said, a mix of resolve and fury in his voice. No more games. No more skirmishes. This was war. Lieutenant Arden stood still, quietly observing the fleet beside him, as it moved steadily toward the human positions. The might of the Gork's armada was undeniable, overwhelming in scale and power, but a knot of unease twisted in his chest. The humans were different. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and disturbingly quiet on the UN def side of the battle. Captain Marcus Johnson studied the enemy formation. His sharp gaze noted its flawlessness, a perfect display of force and structure, but he saw it for what it was, a rigid system, begging to be broken. Beside him, Dr. Heath Mercer leaned forward, analyzing the Gork's behavior with the obsession of a man hunting for cracks in an unbreakable wall. They're arrogant, Mercer said, voice laced with both admiration and disdain. These bastards think sheer numbers will win. Johnson nodded, face unreadable. They've yet to learn. Let's teach them. Human ships didn't fire the first shot. Instead, Mercer's cyber warfare team struck silently, hidden in the background, launching a cascade of precise digital attacks. Gork systems began to fail, targeting arrays glitched. Communications dropped. False alarms spread panic among their ranks. On board the Gork's flagship, Vien slammed a clawed hand onto the console. What is happening? He roared as technicians scrambled. Interference, Arden said through clenched teeth. They're hacking. Use, then adapt. Vien barked. Crush them with firepower. But humanity didn't wait. From the shadows of asteroid fields and debris clouds, small, agile strike teams emerged, hitting supply ships and auxiliary craft with brutal precision. The Gorks, used to direct assaults, were caught completely off guard. Each strike cost them dearly. Arden's morale faltered as chaos unfolded around him. He turned to Varn. "This is not the battle we trained for." Vien's burning eyes narrowed. "You sound like Tasser." "We do not retreat." "This isn't retreat," Arden replied. "It's survival." But Vien dismissed him with a growl and launched a full-scale assault. Too late. Human forces were already coordinating, already surrounding them. Precision, ruthlessness, momentum. The Gorks began to crumble. Johnson, calm amidst the storm, orchestrated every strike like a conductor guiding a deadly symphony. Each movement was a calculation, every engagement a trap. "They're collapsing faster than I expected," Mercer said. "They're predictable. That's their weakness." The Gorks panicked. Rumors of human infiltrators spread. Systems failed. Ships disappeared without a trace. Terror, something alien to the Gorks, began to take root, and in a low command station, forgotten by most, General Tasser watched his people unravel. He turned to Arden, voice trembling. Maybe, you'll listen." He had sent a message to Vien, a final plea, one that went ignored. "You can still stop this," Tasser whispered. "Pride won't save you." For the first time, Arden understood. This wasn't just a war. Humanity wasn't just resisting, they were toppling an empire, but Vien would not hear it. Alone on the flagship's bridge, surrounded by defeat, Vien fumed. "You think I'll surrender?" He spat. "I'd rather die." "You'll doom us all," Arden said quietly. "This is about survival, not pride." But Vien wouldn't listen. He ordered the remnants of the Gorks